Hi there, everyone. I'm Ani Anderson, co-founder of the Somatic Coaching Academy, and I'm super excited. Today, we get to talk to some of our current students, almost graduates, about the Somatic Coach Training Program, or as some people know it, SBMC, Sensation-Based Motivation Coaching. So today is about asking our students anything. And over the course of the past week or so, I've gathered a number of questions from those of you who are interested in somatic coaching. So we're going to get a chance to ask unfiltered, behind the scenes, our students anything. But before we do that, let's meet our panel. So today we have Chris and Sarah and Shauna and Gabes. Thank you so much for being here today. And we'll give a chance for each of you to introduce yourselves so we get to know you a little bit. And we'll start with Chris. Chris, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, so I've been doing corporate consulting for the last 25 years, and in the process of doing that, I've kind of worked with executives, and I realized that people's leadership patterns or people's leadership is kind of hindered sometimes by their own patterns and their own fears. So I'm excited to help executive men eliminate the subconscious programs that are hindering optimal leadership and impact.
Fantastic. C. Whitty, thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here today.
AKA C. Whitty.
Gabes, would you take a second to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Gabriella Copeland. Everybody calls me Gabes, so you can call me Gabes. I am a former high-tech executive who realized that my values, my purpose was just really out of aligned with the work that I was doing. And part of the work that I've been doing is SBMC. And so it's inspired me so much. I've always loved coaching. I'm currently coaching and consulting. And so now I'm really excited to take this out in the world and to help other high-tech executives, leaders, individual contributors do their own work.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabes. I love it that some of our community comes from the corporate background. Some of our community comes from the healthcare background. Some people are coaches. People come from all different kinds of communities. And speaking of different kinds of communities, Shauna, why don't you say hello for us?
Sure. Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I am a trauma-informed transformational guide with 20 years experience helping conscious leaders, change makers, and professionals to attain fundamental well-being. I specialize in bioenergetics. I also work with psychedelic and somatic coaching, and I provide everyday leaders with an opportunity to prevent the stress-related burnout and attain work-life harmony, transform toxic workplaces and foster psychological safety, and then really stop that self-sabotaging behavior and change any kind of patterns of resistance so that people can really, operate from a place of their personal power and have, essentially what everyone wants is to feel happy.
Yeah.
In life, content.
Yeah. At peace. Yeah, right. In flow. Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for being here. Sarah, would you take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Roberts, and my background is government. I retired from state government at the end of 2015, and I started my own business, Clarity Matters Consulting, LLC. And I do coaching, training, facilitating, leadership development. I primarily work with executives and managers at the local, county, state, and federal government level. And I met Ani through another program, and it was so personally revolutionary for me in the way that I think, that I said, I want more of that. I want to learn it so that I can share it with my clients.
Thanks, Sarah. And you bring me to my first question for each of you. Did you have any idea what somatics was before you got involved in this certification program? Because not all of our potential students do. A lot of people say, I just feel called to do this work, and they don't really understand. So Sarah, if you would start us out.
Yeah, I did. When I became a coach, there were several coaches in my community who were doing somatic coaching. And I didn't really totally understand it. I thought there was a little bit of woo-woo in there.
Mhm.
And then when I had the pleasure of being coached in a somatic way, I realized just how deep and transformational it is.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Shauna, how about you?
So it's a yes and a no, because yes, I was trained in somatic protocols to help people on very many levels for their healing and transformational work that I do. But I actually realized in working with your program that I actually didn't know it. I
Huh.
thought I knew it. It was
Uh-huh.
up here, but it was in going through your coursework that I realized, like, oh, I've come to now understand what it means versus just kind of thinking I knew what it was.
Yeah, really interesting, that embodied understanding.
Very
Yeah,
different. Very
Mhm.
very
different.
different. Yeah. Gabes, how about you?
I knew what somatic was, and I've done all kinds of stuff in my journey of life, trying to figure out like what's next for me and what do I need to work on. But it wasn't until I actually started doing like the level 1, I was like, whoa, okay, this is totally different. And so that's when it's like, as Shauna mentioned, it was like, ooh, what I thought I knew and what I thought I was practicing with others was not the same. So
Mhm. Yeah. And Chris, I know you kind of got roped into this whole thing. So
I
tell us a
I
little bit about that.
I got roped in, but at the same time, there was careful consideration, and it was Shauna suggested that I take this course, and I talked to her at length, and of course, Ani, you and I talked, and I asked you a bunch of specific questions. I didn't really know what somatic. I mean, I had an idea of what it meant in general in terms of therapy, or in terms of just a general idea about it, because I find it in the last year it's coming up everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything maybe it's just the algorithms have figured out that I'm interested in somatic stuff. But anyway, yeah, what I realized was just that seemed to be like the missing link, the part of coaching that can really take what I was looking to do the next level. So I was really excited, even though I got roped in. It was definitely, I think the first conversation was more of a suggestion, and it was exactly what I felt was going to be the missing link.
The missing link is something people tell us all the time
Yeah.
when they start to take some of our coursework. And so I'm laughing to myself a little bit because my next question is somatics scary? Is it daunting? And I want you to talk about that a little bit because it's interesting to me. People don't really understand somatics. And when I say something like, well, it's body centered, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, so it's in the body. Like we're going to open up Pandora's box is the fear, so is somatics scary to do and learn?
No.
Why not, Sarah?
Yeah, it is funny that you said that because I thought, oh gosh, we're going to have to do yoga and I'm going to have to wear tights and it's going to be, and no, it's not. It's just breathing and moving and literally sometimes tapping into your body. And so it's not scary. And I like knowing that I can do this with people while sitting in my desk chair and they're sitting in their desk chair. So it's super, super practical.
No tights. You heard it here.
No tights.
If you want to wear tights.
Yeah, it's totally okay if you want to wear tights.
Chris, no tights.
I'm wearing tights right now.
Chris, I think you were going to say something too. Is somatic scary?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't know why. I guess it never even occurred to me that it could be scary. I guess I don't even know that I understand why it would be scary per se. It's just not my experience.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that somatic work means deep, it's dark. I've heard people say when they're considering our program, like, are we going to rehash our trauma over and over again?
Right.
Shauna, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I wanted to just kind of say that maybe it could be, depending on what you want to get done with it. So it has the potential for going deep, because I have used it in that therapeutic kind of way in which we're intentionally accessing body trauma. but that doesn't have to be the focus. And when you're doing it in the way, like you guys have put together such a phenomenal program, like the way that you help us structure the work that we do with others, we're so acutely aware of being able to stay in that place of, it's not deep and scary. It can be in this easy to access container, like access information in the body without having to go too deep. But I do use it intentionally. Like, that's, people come to me for that. And so, yeah, the answer is yes. It's scary for some.
Well, I think you said a really key word and distinction here. You know, we're talking about, during this conversation, somatic coaching, not somatic therapy. And somatic coaching and therapy look very different. And so I know a lot of folks have either had a therapeutic background or have had therapy, you know, and then you're coming into coaching. So talk a little bit about the distinction between therapy and coaching as you've felt it in this curriculum. Does it feel like therapy? If not, why? Like, talk a little bit about that. Gabes, can I toss the conversation to you first?
Yeah, so when I started this program, I was in therapy. I've been in therapy for already about a year. At the same time, I was also doing coaching. So I had traditional transactional coaching as well. And something wasn't right. I was still stuck, still having a hard time processing the things that I was working through. So once I started doing SBMC, that truly was what was missing. That connected the dots. And not to say that therapy was great for what it was for, and coaching helps take action, but by doing the SBMC stuff, not only was I able to address the things, the patterns that were coming up, but now I had the tools to then take action. And my life has changed 180 degrees because of it. And I know it's because of this program. So.
Yeah, thank you. The tools is really important to us. It's really important to us that we're bringing practical tools that you can use and also you can teach. I think there's real value in learning, you know, a tool that not only transforms your own life, but that you can teach to others. So would, Sarah, maybe I'll toss this to you first. Is there a certain tool that you've learned in the SBMC program that you've really appreciated bringing forward to clients?
Yeah, pattern deconstruction and reconstruction has been really powerful in helping people see that they are not their patterns and that they do have the ability and they have the choice to change.
Choice to change. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Chris, how about you? Any specific tools?
Yeah, so there's a couple specific tools that I really love, and it's kind of funny. And when I was in my younger 20s, I took as a kind of a joke a shadow work facilitator's course. So I did a course on doing shadow work, and it's kind of been with me, this idea. It never felt like therapy. It kind of does feel like coaching in the sense of someone's kind of guiding you down your own past. I've never really done therapy in both facilitated or received, but the tools that I'm really excited to kind of use going forward in that kind of that sense of shadow work is the both the core expression or soul's agenda and then the core wound discovery. To me, I really feel like that gets to the heart of a lot of, you know, what's going on for people. And I know, you know, people may not think of trauma as something that they've like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I never thought of myself. I didn't think of myself as experiencing trauma. And I know a lot of people don't have those kind of, you know, experiences in their lives. I went to war, but I came back pretty, you know, I never really fought or anything. So I was just a mechanic on aircraft. So I don't know that I thought I had trauma, but as I do this work, I realize that there are core wounds that they just kind of get in there.
Yeah.
And nothing major. You know, my parents were great. I don't have any memories of anything bad happening, but I do know that there are patterns. And absolutely what Sarah said, I love the pattern deconstruction, reconstruction. I'm a programmer too, so I love this kind of programming and deprogramming and reprogramming. But I really think getting to your core purpose and getting that understanding of what your soul's agenda is really does kind of frame everything in your life. It actually helps you frame your decisions about what you're going to do in all areas of your life when you're coming to an area of like, well, I mean, we all get to this point, what should I do? And when you look at it in the context of, well, this is my soul's agenda, this is my core expression, which one of these decisions is most aligned? It kind of takes your own personal biases and filters out of it when you're just looking at it objectively and saying, well, if I were just to ask which of these decisions best aligns with my core soul expression,
Yeah.
I think the answers become a lot more easier to figure out.
Yeah, it can be so difficult to sort through the information in our subconscious mind and figure out what really is my soul's expression, like you said, and what is conditioned responses, things that I was taught, and trauma responses too. So I'm a person in my own private practice. I don't necessarily work with people who have trauma. Like I don't put that on the billboard, but we know that most people have experienced a primary trauma in their lives, and if they haven't, they were being raised by people who had experienced some kind of trauma. Everybody has some kind of trauma going on. Shauna, as a trauma therapist, I know you actively, like, it's on your billboard. It's not on my billboard. It's on your billboard.
We go
right?
seek it.
Yeah. So would you talk for a second about how learning in the SBMC program has helped your trauma-informed process?
Oh gosh, it was a game changer. And, I had intensive training on going in, but I didn't realize I was lacking the skills of being able to facilitate people to safely return to their window of tolerance. And that was the big aha for me. Like in my training, we didn't have, like, we were focused on getting to the trauma, but we didn't give people the tools to be able to restore their wholeness after they access that destabilized state, that memory on a body level, right? Because it's not like, oh, I remember something. It's like, I'm feeling a certain way. And that we know is related to perhaps an experience or something lineage based. But regardless, the whole thing about being able to use these tools to be able to kind of facilitate people, it changed everything for me. And I saw huge shifts. Not only were breakthroughs happening with almost every single person in every session, but it was so much safer.
Yeah.
Like the journey of going in intentionally to access trauma, it's unsafe to begin with, because you're going to get, you bump into those things and all the protective layers. But the way you taught us to work with safety, to work with those conditioned responses, to work with all of those layers, the core wound protective layers, it changed everything. So when people are actually coming to me, I predominantly focus on that now to bring them into safety.
Yeah. That's awesome. So trauma is on your billboard. Gabe's trauma is not on your billboard necessarily. So talk to us about how it feels. Do you feel safe to be able to go deep with people? How does that show up in a more corporate environment?
Yeah, so we're humans, right? I mean, we're humans, we're not robots, and we have sensations and feelings and thoughts and beliefs. And so I'm not a therapist. I don't play one on TV. And so when I'm working with people, it does come up, but with the tools that you've given us, what we've learned about creating safety, I feel very confident that when something pops up for an individual, I don't necessarily need to go down that path with them. It's just an open door for me then to take them to the next place. And so for those people that are watching this or listening and you're like, well, I'm not a therapist, or I don't do trauma. It doesn't matter. It's because of the way the container that Ani and Brian have created. I feel very comfortable in working with people when it pops up. I'm not scared of it. I can walk into it with them, hold their hands, and then get them to where they need to go so that they can then take action and do those things. So
yeah, awesome.
It's been amazing.
For me too, as a practitioner for years, I just knew I was really good at doing deep work or having difficult conversations with people that other practitioners weren't having. I didn't necessarily link it to trauma. It wasn't until pre-pandemic, but boy, that really highlighted it, right? That we started to put those pieces together about the trauma things that, of course, Brian is so educated in. So I have some really practical questions for you all. And one of them is there a lot of homework? Because a lot of people who take our program, like they have families and they have jobs and stuff. So, and some of our students next year are getting PhDs while they're taking our program. Is there a lot of homework?
No, I think it's manageable. Yeah, there's not a lot of homework. And obviously the work you do, you're showing up every week, depending on how your schedule is going to be, that's really important. And if you do that, that makes a huge difference. And then we have peer shares that we get together, but everybody, I know my experience has been, everybody's been very flexible and working together and having that connection. So it's not overwhelming at all.
Right.
Yeah. I think I was thinking, how do we define homework, right? So if you're writing a paper, no, you're not doing that. So put that to rest. If you are practicing what you've learned with others, yeah, and that feels good and it's fun. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But we do have, as Gabe's mentioned, there are peer review, peer shares. They're really fun because not only are you have an opportunity to practice in a safe container, but you really get to know your classmates, which has been just a lovely byproduct that is very meaningful.
Yeah, I have to just say that the community is the number one thing that comes up when anybody shares how much they have appreciated the program. The people is always what people say. So some people who are considering joining the program want to know about protocols. Like they want to make sure there are some somatic programs when you go in and it's a little nebulous in terms of like, what are we really learning? Where are we really going? Talk to us for a second about, is it easy to learn? And do you come out with like specific tools that you can use with your clients? Do you know how to specifically go forward with your clients?
Yeah, I think for me, that's one of the biggest benefits of the way you guys have structured this program is it's actually, I mean, one of the reasons the main reason I think I took it is just how much you guys focus on preparing the people who graduate with structures and tools. I mean, there's a vault that we can access that has videos of examples of how to use it. You give us specific, almost checklist type steps on how to do everything we need to do. We get to practice it over and over. And homework, it's like Sarah said, it's not homework. It's practicing what we're learning and in a very fun way. And then there's these extra hours that are just geared towards how to launch your business, business stuff. So, putting all that stuff together in a way that, and what I also love about it is, you guys are also helping other businesses be successful. And that's kind of the other kind of side of what you do. So you're really good at it. And so the advice that I'm getting to run and launch my career in this way, I mean, I'm brand new, so I didn't actually do any kind of therapy until I did, except for what I did all the time when people, hey, you got to do that.
Can I talk to you?
Can I talk to you about something? I've been doing that. And I'm like, hey, I want to get paid for this now. So getting the actual, getting the structures in place to do everything has just been like my favorite part of this is knowing that I can skillfully implement it.
I love hearing this from you, Chris, because as somebody who's done like coding and things like that, I think it would probably drive you nuts if we weren't pretty systemized about stuff.
I keep my mouth shut because you guys are doing everything. It's amazing how well organized you are, because I have done other programs that are nowhere near as organized as what you guys have done. So
That's great. We're going to take a little bit of a sidebar here. I want to come back to the protocols and hear from someone else as well. But Chris said something that's going to be my next question. And to be honest, it was my question. So some of these questions are coming from potential students, and this one came from me because it's something that I tell people all the time, and I really want them to hear it from you. I say, we genuinely care about your business and you using this to grow your impact and your income. I have never taken a certification course before that had robust business stuff within it so that you can leave and actually do something with this information. So that's coming from me, though. Chris already talked about it, and I didn't even have to ask. So thank you, Chris. Gabe's, what do you think? Helpful in that regard?
Oh yeah. So I am, as my lovely colleagues here know, I've been sitting in the wings. I've been doing coaching for a consulting group for the last year. And like Chris, people find me, and now I'm like, okay, I want to go. And what Ani and their staff have done is giving me tools, business office hours. Ani's very generous with her time, her advice. I've recently went to her and discussed a situation, and she just was like, what about this? And so plus working with everybody else, it's been so supportive in the business side, because to have a business mindset, that's a real shift for me. I was a good employee, but now I got to be a good business owner for myself. And so I feel like I have the tools, I have the support I need to be able to launch and jump off the cliff and get in the water. And it's been awesome. So that's something that I did not expect. I literally went into this program for a whole different purpose. And now I can honestly say that I'm walking out knowing okay, this is what it looks like. And I have the resources to help me be successful. I just have to do it. It's up to me to do it. But
absolutely. Yeah. But you have the resources to be successful. Shauna, let's hear from you. And then Sarah, we're going to go back to you with the protocols thing. Shauna, business, helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I love being able to talk business related to this work, so that, as we are, most of us here, and probably a majority of people who come to this program are entrepreneurs. And so the reality is, I've always been this, as a practitioner in the holistic practitioner world of mine, I've always struggled with learning the business piece, even though it was it was almost like, all right, I got to figure it out. I got to figure out how to run a business. But my skill, or my art, if you would, was my service. And, over the years, I've done my fair share of training around it, but it feels great to have that, like Gabe's talked about, was the support of what you guys are doing. And both, here's the professional piece to it. Here's the actual structure of how you can facilitate a session, because that's part of it, because that gets the results that brings in more people. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's both and to me.
Exactly. Yeah. We like to tell people we want to help you be more successful, because as you're more successful, our mission is more successful. And our mission is to help every person on the planet have access to a somatic coach. Right. So we get to have that mission through you doing great work. Sarah, talk to us. Let's go back to this idea of systemization. You're an organized person, so tell us a little bit about how that was for you.
Well, not as organized as Chris, but I will say that that's very important to me, because I want to be able to use the tools with my clients as we're going through, and being able to access everything in the vault. And I've printed everything out. I have my own handbook. Has been really terrific.
Right.
I want to can I touch on something else too?
Of course.
So Chris mentioned the therapy piece of it, not having been in therapy, et cetera. And one of the points that I want to make that ties also to the protocol piece of it is that for international Coaching Federation coaches, that being my background and also having been a coach trainer, it was really important to me that this program was something that I could integrate ethically into my coaching.
Yeah.
And one of the protocols that has been so important to me is that you have set it up so that it mirrors and we can follow how you're meeting the core competencies that we're required to meet in our coaching as a PCC. Mm-hmm. So that protocol has been very important. And I want to make that because I don't know for those people who are listening who might be an ICF coach. And I really just want to welcome people who are ICF coaches or want to be ICF coaches to go through this program. You will not regret it. And you can integrate it all so beautifully.
Sarah, I really appreciate you bringing that up because we do get a lot of people who are ICF coaches who are interested in the program. And to be perfectly honest, the program was created before I was an ICF coach, as you know. And I went through my own credentialing process to become an ICF coach. And part of the big reason was because I wanted to know all of those little tidbits and make sure we weren't missing anything. And what I found going through the ICF process myself was that not only were we not missing anything, but we were able to enhance the core competencies in ways that if you weren't somatically trained, you just couldn't do it. So there's so many ICF core competencies that being somatic trained can really, really help you enhance your skills, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. Question from someone who wants to know, she's joining the program next year. What should she do to prepare? Is there anything in particular that you would recommend that she do prior to beginning the program? It's interesting. I'm going to tell you what I usually say to people, but I want to hear what you have to say first because I'm seeing like a, Shauna, is there anything that's coming up for you?
Well, my first thought was, where is she starting? Is she starting from SBMC level 1 or is she starting with outsmarting resistance?
She's going to start with cross mapping. So level 1.
Okay. Okay. So preparing would be honestly just going to learn about what the word somatic is, how people work with it. But I think honestly what prepared me was to actually take your other classes.
Yeah, just to kind of get involved with the language and stuff like that.
Yeah. And learn things that you were sharing.
Yeah, Gabe's.
Well, I was going to say classes, like if you have a core centering practice class coming up, that would be a great place. But what came to me was maybe finding some practices for themselves that they can do, whether it's going for a walk, doing yoga, things, maybe downloading a meditation app. And the reason why I'm suggesting that is just starting to work on centering themselves, because the work that we're doing with people is a lot of it is about that. And so starting to work on their own practice could be potentially very helpful as they're going through the process. So.
Yeah. Chris, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, the short answer is you don't need to do anything to prepare. Everything happens, nice and then unfolds. You don't have to, I don't think there's any prerequisites, but if I were to say, well, what could you do? I think, I don't know, you could do some Qigong. I loved learning, from Brian, all that stuff. For me, it was just, I had taken Qigong in the past too. So it was great kind of re-going through all that again. And then the other thing that I would say, if you really want to geek out, is learning about the neocortex, the thalamus, and the brain, and just kind of getting yourself familiar with parts of the brain and their functions. I think it could help. I don't know that it would be required at all, but if you want to do anything, that to me might be something that would be a little helpful, because that kind of comes in a lot. And I'm trying to keep all that stuff in my head. Bagel, all that stuff.
You
Shauna?
technically already have it in your head.
I was just going to say
Uh-huh.
it is in your head. Shauna, did you have something to add?
You know, it's the books that that came to mind, like resources. The anything from Gabor Mate, is that his name? How to pronounce it? I might be botching his pronunciation. Or The Body Keeps Score. You know, understanding how the body is holding on to information. And starting to realize like memories aren't what we think they are. There's more to them. And so, yeah, I think that probably would be good, the resources.
Yeah, that's a great one that we recommend all the time. The Body Keeps the Score. And we will get, so I'll tell you my answer when people ask me, we will give people a book to read. And that's usually what they're asking me is, can I read a book to get ready? And I love the things that you all were talking about because, yeah, read a book, refresh yourself on physiology, because physiology is going to be a part of the program. But really, to just practice being in your body and practice body awareness and practice whatever methods you want to do that will help you to prepare to go through the program, because we are in this program coming from a place where the body-mind split never happens, and the intellect isn't necessarily the king and or queen of everything. And so it's a little paradoxical when we tell people you don't have to read a bunch of books before starting to get prepared, but that's exactly the point. So I love that. And thank you for sharing your reflections as students. I'd love to hear from each of you what ways you plan to implement what you've learned in the program, either in your personal life or in your career. Sarah, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I'm integrating all of the materials and all of the practices and the tools into my executive coaching and training and even facilitating. And I'm going to be planning a retreat. And I'm hoping that that'll be a yearly thing. So yeah, I just really being able to pull all the tools together and make them work for me and personally and for my clients.
I love that. We were
Yeah.
just on a call talking about leading retreats. That was awesome. Bonus points, Sarah. Shauna, how do you plan to implement the work into your personal and professional life?
I have 4 ways, but they're all intertwined.
Okay.
The first and the most obvious is the one-on-one work. So, of course, incorporating it into what I'm already doing with the trauma-centered work. And then also I have already started working with, every week I have group classes, and this is all for like the core centering aspect of it, which is kind of an associated course within your SBMC program. But those core centering practices keep people moving, on this path of progression, and they get the support and the structure and the accountability that they need along the way. Because, when someone has an intention to heal, or to transform something or to work on something, whatever it is, they do need that kind of support. So that's part of it. And then the third piece is what Chris and I are actually working on together as partners in Rex Muto, which is leadership transformation, trauma-informed leadership transformation. So we're taking a lot of these skills and these teachings and helping to educate leaders. And today's, of course, issue is not burnout from the place of like people are having mental health breakdowns. It's an epidemic, and this is it's only going to get worse if we don't come at it with tools.
Yeah.
And then, like Sarah, like the fourth piece is the retreat piece, where I'll be able to host people for these leadership type of experiences, or personal transformation, or relational work. So those are all the different ways that I'm
Awesome. I love it. I love all the different ways that you're able to diversify your business using the skills. So Chris, because Shauna kind of, got you looped in there. How about you? Where are you going to integrate these things personally and professionally?
Well, I mean, Rex Muto was kind of the launch pad for this whole experience and this, but right now what I'm doing is I'm using this in my personal life. Like I'm using this in my relationship. One of the things that I've agreed upon with my fiance is like when we notice ourselves in kind of a reactive mode, is to regulate, to kind of use the practices to self-regulate and to co-regulate and actually come to a more connected place. So that's been an amazing experience. But the other thing that I think is just in my practicing with the techniques that I'm using is right now I'm helping like 4 of my friends who are executive men actually work through some of their core wounds. So like I'm actually helping some people just that I know, and that's been very rewarding.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I love hearing that because these tools are tools we can use on or with ourselves, right? So our students and graduates use the tools to enhance their own life and their business experience. So as we wrap up from today's conversation, I have one more question for you, and I want to encourage you before you answer it, because I'll have each of you answer it. Go ahead and say anything else that I didn't ask that you think needs to be shared. But here's my question. So I talk to students or potential students all the time who say, I feel called to do this work. I've been praying. I have a true desire. People ask me, it's kind of like Chris was saying, like people ask me to help them all the time. And I really feel like this is how I can help them. But the money commitment, the time commitment, I have a lot of things going on in my life. I'm going through some major transitions right now. What would you say to somebody who's in that position where they have a true desire, calling, but there's stuff coming up? And Gibbs, let's go ahead and start with you.
What would I say to them? Close your eyes. What's the sensation you feel, and where do you feel it?
That's great. Gibbs, you were going through some transitions yourself in your own life when you came on board, right?
Yeah. When I came on board, in fact, you had already kicked off the level 1.
That's
I
right.
literally came on board. The group had already been going together for a couple weeks, and major transitions in my life. All the things that they talk about your life has, I won't go into details. That's what was going on for me. And what I would say is, if you have a strong desire and something in your heart is calling you to it, don't walk, run. Just go straight into it and just do it. You will not regret it. Even if you do nothing with it professionally, personally, it'll stay with you the rest of your life. You will never look at anything the same again. And it's just, so that would be my advice to people.
I love that. You'll never look at things the same again. I truly do have people say, I'm going through some transitions right now. I'm not sure if it's the right time for me. Chris, you've gone through some big transitions throughout the course of this program too. So how about you?
Well, I think for me, the idea was, am I committed to doing this work? Is this what I'm choosing to move, my whole career. So this is something I've been thinking of doing for years. And this commitment, the financial commitment, is not small. And the time commitment isn't small. It's not trivial. It's like something you've got to really incorporate in your life. And for me, when you make that commitment to yourself, the chances of you actually following through and doing something with it and making it happen. And that's what I'm personally looking to, is actually make this a thing in my life.
Yeah.
And going back to what I said earlier, having tools to succeed, not only in just the actual art and science of the practice, but actually in the business aspect, is huge. In fact, I just wanted to add real quick that, the influential conversation or the enrollment conversation, which can be very nervous. So, being able to just run through your techniques, A, B, C, D, F, G, it's like, boom, it works. And just, these are the tools that make this program so much, in my mind, I have so much more, I think, chance of success in actually implementing it and using it and actually being successful in my new career as I kind of fold this into what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah. Listening to you, and I'm reflecting that all of our students graduate, all of our students meet their competencies. We've designed the program so that happens. And it really is a commitment. It's a commitment you're making to yourself to transform your life. And that takes a lot of guts. Sarah, what comes up for you with this question?
Yeah. So one of the things that we learn and we practice is are the natural laws. And so I'm thinking about the law of more life, right? And so when you want something, especially for people who say that they're feeling really called to do it, I don't think there's a choice, right? I mean, you do it, or you don't, and you give up
Yeah.
all of the opportunities that are just waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for bringing that up. The natural laws. Exactly. Shauna, how about you?
Well, I think there is something to be said about really being discerning. If there is an actual thing that is consuming your life, but then discernment's the key, because you have to ask yourself, well, is this the thing that I want to give my energy to? And where am I going with that thing that I'm focused on?
Yeah.
When I came into the program, I had literally just moved.
Yeah.
I had moved out of state, and I had to literally begin again as an entrepreneur. I had to start over. So like money was scarce for me. The time commitment was scary to me. The feeling of like, could I do it? And then, by the way, I was as sick as I went through many health issues
Right.
throughout the year. So like, with that said, I wouldn't change it in the world. I can't even believe I contemplated not doing it. Like, I was like, I'm crazy to even have had a thought of it wasn't the right fit for me at all. Like, there's so many things that I think we tell ourselves the excuses about, the no, like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do it. I don't, like you said, I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the money. Yeah, it becomes the thing that creates the space for you to have that, whatever your goals are, whatever your future casting in this world, creating what's coming through you, happens as a result of you saying yes.
Yeah, it's so true. It's your first transformation is saying yes to things that are really in your heart and making the commitment, like Chris said, to move forward in them. Shauna, Sarah, Chris, Gabes, thank you so much for being here and for your honesty and your opinions. I know people really appreciate hearing from you how it really is. Thank you, all of you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And if you're watching the recording and you're thinking, great, I want more information, awesome. Email us at info@somaticcoachingacademy.com. You also have the opportunity to talk to a member of our team who also has been a student. So there's more opportunities to talk to the people who have been in the program and can give you the behind the scenes information. And also when you're ready to enroll, just go to somaticcoachingacademy.com. You can click on programs and submit your application. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Do it.